accessible. Oh, thank you. Do you know SpongeBob?
Of course I do.
And we're going, and that's a cut.
Yep.
That's an outtake.
I love SpongeBob. It's
I
one of
think
my
just like
favorite
smiling,
things
and
ever.
you're just like, do you know SpongeBob? Of course you do. All right, anybody. Anyway, hi everybody. We are so excited to be at Intentional Path Wellness today with Nate Ewert. He is our special guest and kind of our little person we're going to interview today. So we're really excited for it. And we decided that we kind of wanted to talk about how to start your journey, because even though Wanderlust Way has gone over a lot of things, we haven't really talked about how to start it.
And you guys hear so much from us and our journey, and it'd be really nice to just get a different perspective of the things that we've been talking about to you guys, especially from a professional point of view. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So a little bit about Nate. He owns Intentional Path Wellness and SS Performance Massage. He has been on his own long journey to consciousness and presence, and just he helps people find kind of their consciousness. He's a healer. He's personally been a giant role model for me. Coming to Colorado, like one of the biggest role models. So I was like, of course I want him to share a little bit about what he does and how he got where he is today. And so we're gonna kind of just jump right in and start. How did you start your wellness journey? What are some things that you think are really important for viewers to know?
So, yeah, good question. It's a big question.
It is a big question.
How
Starting off big.
Yeah, right?
how I started my journey, I was kind of forced into it, and I think a lot of people, they kind of have to go through a lot of pain before they kind of wake up and see, hey, I need to change my life.
Yeah.
However, that pain is not necessary. I think a lot of people, they hear that call of wow, there's something more, right? There's something more to life. I know I have a purpose, and a lot of times though you'll hear that for a decade or more before you actually take action on it.
Yeah, that's
But
so
there
true.
really,
Yeah.
there really are some simple things you can do to like activate that a little more.
Yeah.
I also honestly believe like when we're ready, we start it, and
Absolutely.
and I realized that it was about almost 8 years ago that I started consciously pursuing my path. Like I was actually aware of it, which is a big reason why I started Intentional Path Wellness, because it's all about being intentional on the path you're choosing.
Yes.
Right.
But we're all on the journey, always, whether we know it or not.
That's so true.
So
Exactly.
I think the biggest part of starting that journey would be choosing to like be aware of it. Right?
Just
Like, hey,
being
you know
like
what?
already.
I'm going to be more aware of what's
Yes.
going on, and that
Yeah.
truly is step one. And with anything, it's like awareness is always step one.
Yes.
I was thinking about this morning, and one thing that came up really is when we start to make that choice to follow something, to find our purpose, to find our higher self, we have to be aware of the things that have been guiding us, right? Because there's always these little waypoints and signposts that we follow in our life without realizing it.
Yes.
I know for me
My
growing
entire
up,
life. So true.
what's that?
It's just my entire life has just been guided, I feel like
Yeah.
not by me, but now I'm taking control.
So what is one thing for each of you that like you can always count on? It's like that one thing, like whenever you see it, like, oh, I know that I'm in the right place because I see this thing, I feel this right here. Like, what is it?
We both have one, and it's actually a number.
Numbers for
Okay.
us.
Yeah.
So numbers are a big one. Any specific numbers? Or?
Yeah, mine is 52.
Mine is 7-11.
And it's weird because
Okay.
now that we've synchronized and we've kind of consciously been on this path, I even see her number now, and she sees mine a lot, just because
very
we're
intertwined.
Yeah. You know, and it's
Yeah.
just like we
Just
see them
because
all the time.
I think we've started our journey together, like really
Yes.
consciously started it together. Like
Yeah.
even with the Wanderlust page, like that was us consciously starting this whole
And
journey.
being like, we feel like we want to start something bigger or get on the path to something bigger.
Yes,
and
exactly.
around that time, we saw 52 and 7-Eleven
a
Yeah.
bunch.
everywhere, all over
So-
the place.
So and that's brilliant, and it's great that you guys know that, because that's kind of the next piece is like, what are the signs that you can follow?
Yeah.
And so I remember growing up, street lights used to turn on and off. And so,
Oh my
right?
gosh,
That's a
yes.
big one, right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
And so there's lots of signs out there. I have a client who, she's a big runner, a professional runner, and she finds change everywhere. So, and that's one of the ways that she knows she's on the right path. Is like she'll be running and she'll find change on the ground, or she'll
That's
walk
really cool.
into a new meeting
That's
or
really
something
awesome.
and she'll find a quarter, and it's like this idea that, oh, I'm in the right place, right?
Yes.
It's like
So
you're
there's
always where you
lots of
need to
little
be.
signs.
Yeah.
Also, like feathers are a huge one
Yep.
too. If the
Yeah.
angel's near or your guides are close,
Yes,
like
for
I think
sure.
that's a big one.
So paying attention to those things and acknowledging them.
Yes.
So, because it's one thing to be like, oh yeah, I think I've noticed those sorts of things, but like when you notice them and you acknowledge them,
Yes.
all of a sudden it starts to open things up more so that you can
Yeah.
see this more. Because really the path is laid out in front of you. We just have to be willing to see it.
So true.
Yes.
So true. And I think a beautiful thing too is every time personally, like I see 52, I like take a second to be like grateful, because it's like, like, and I just release whatever, like if I'm like worried about something, it's just gone. And it's just nice to have that moment of just like gratitude. I'm on
That's
the right
huge.
path.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you know.
Gratitude's always huge too.
Yeah.
That's a big part of my life and my journey every day of journaling, some gratitude, or anytime I'm feeling something, even a cold, it's like the more you can feel gratitude, the more healing takes place, really.
Exactly.
So you find your North Star, essentially, because that's what it is, right? It's a beacon. It's something to follow. And again, a lot of people will follow different things. So are you looking to find your higher self, or are you looking to follow some paradigm that's already there? A lot of people find a lot of comfort in dogmas that are already out there, whether it's Christianity or Judaism or things, and like they are huge guideposts, right? It's those faith and belief systems that can give people a lot of direction. And so
true.
So no matter what that sign or guidepost is that you're willing to recognize, like you have to acknowledge it and follow it. And be willing to follow it. And what'll happen then is you'll start to get tested, right?
Ooh.
So now all of a sudden, maybe something shows up that you're not sure about, or you're a little uncomfortable, but you're seeing this sign. And it's like,
true.
so now like, okay, this sign is showing me like maybe it's time for me to go into a little bit of discomfort here, or whatever it might be. Because that spiritual journey, or this journey you guys are talking about, it's about growth, right? It's about
100%.
getting closer to who we are and shedding all of the things that aren't who we are. And sometimes it's uncomfortable.
It's hard.
Sometimes it's really uncomfortable.
and so we kind of get present and we become aware of our stuff, right? And we start asking questions like, how can I interact with these things that I'm aware of?
Yeah.
How am I supposed to follow these things? Right, so asking these questions, and we'll get pretty clear answers, right? The hardest part is trusting the answer.
I would say the hardest part is
and
trusting.
exactly when it's
Your
like,
intuition, too.
boy, this situation I'm about to walk into feels really uncomfortable, and I don't want to do it, but gosh, every sign is pointing me to this. You can absolutely trust that you have the tools you need
And it's,
to go through that if you're being
yes,
guided.
and
Yes.
isn't there that saying that I like really believe that the universe will never give you like so much you can't handle?
Yeah.
Like you can be tested so hard, but it'll never give you so much to where you can't like go through it.
Yeah, if something is in front of you, you're well equipped to deal with it.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to
Yeah.
put it, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're humans are strong beings. Like
Absolutely.
we are so powerful, I feel like.
And I feel like we are all truly being guided, and like whatever you're going through, whether it's hard or it's like great, like you're right where you're supposed to be. But trusting that is like the hardest part.
It is.
It is so hard. And then you think too far, and that creates anxiety. You think too back, and that creates some depression.
And so that fear that comes up, so we're trying to trust this thing that we're seeing, right? This guidepost that's telling us to go into this thing we don't want to do, right? Or whatever it might be, that's leading us to growth.
Yes.
All the fears, all the doubts, all these crazy patterns come up. But the thing is, like, those patterns are there to serve us, those thought patterns, those fears. Like, at some point or another, we put them in place to help us along our journey.
Yes.
And so if it's coming up in that respect and we're getting shown, like, hey, it's time to face this, again, we have the tools, but the best thing to do, and you've already mentioned it, the gratitude, or, we try to harmonize that fear or that doubt with gratitude for why we put it in place in the first place.
That's
So,
a great point.
wow,
So
I had this
true.
fear
Yeah.
of this thing that I'm about to be doing. Oh, but I realized that this fear is actually because it protected me in this other situation, right?
Yes.
So I'm
Right.
really thankful that was there, and I'm so grateful that it helped me. And now I know that I can set that down because it's time for me to grow past that.
Yes.
And so, we find this presence, and we ask the questions, and then we trust the answers, and then whatever we can't do, we harmonize with gratitude, which is my path to the journey, the healing. So presence,
Yes.
ask questions, trust, and harmony.
Which
So-
is
Wow,
such a
yes,
big
yeah.
part of like what I feel like we are on this like journey to try to discover what Nate has been working on for so long, and why it's so just nice to be with someone like Nate to actually like
Yes.
see the steps and like be able to learn from them. So really quickly, can we dive into some of the things like what are some of the things that you practice that helps you? Just, you know, day to day, or
Yeah.
some big things that you like.
So one thing I definitely think with any of these spiritual journeys is the idea of discipline, and I hated that word for so many years. I kind of had the wrong definition of it, I think.
Yeah.
And what it's come to be for me now is just daily practices of connecting to myself, or connecting to this higher spirit. And that is, my daily practices are pretty lengthy now. It takes me between an hour and a half to get through all my stuff every morning. I don't think that's necessary for everybody, but I work with this. I work with people, and I'm coaching this, and so it's, my cup has to be full, and I have to really be doing the work. So, you don't necessarily need to meditate for an hour a day and journal for 30 minutes a day, and do these exercises that I do, and the automatic writing, and more meditating, and it's like so there's all these things, but starting with something really simple. And one of the basic things I tell everybody who wants to start this is you have to connect to yourself. One of the easiest, best ways to do that is through meditation. And everybody's like, oh, I can't meditate, my mind goes crazy.
Yes, that's the number one response is like, my mind, I can't meditate, I can't meditate. I'm like, you can.
So the one thing to do to be present is focus on your breath, right? You can only breathe now. You can't breathe tomorrow, you can't breathe 5 minutes ago. So when we can just close our eyes and feel our breath. So feel the air coming through your nose, feel your belly fill, your chest fill, whatever it is. And start simple, do 8 breaths, that's it. So start with 8 breaths. It won't even take you 2 minutes.
Beautiful.
And just focus on the breath, what you're feeling, and the number. Yeah. So you're just going to count to 8 in your head with your breath, the inhale, the exhale, and then go about your day. That's it.
Even like the 2 little breaths you had me take, like just before we started this video, like was everything. I feel like I sat, because I was like kind of going a mile a minute, and you were like, just breathe, like take 2 breaths, and I was like, you're so right. I was like, God,
because most of the time our minds are
breaths. And that's important, because even just 2 breaths, even just 1 breath. I say this a lot. Like, we're always 1 breath away from total presence.
It brings,
it
was just
I love
it
that.
brings you right
It
to
literally
the present,
does.
right here, right now.
It brings your mind back from all that stuff it could be thinking about and like making you anxious about, and it's just like, it's beautiful.
Yes.
That's great. That's great. Is there anything else? Like anything else that you would like to say to really?
Honor yourself. The journey it can be challenging. It can be beautiful. It can be all of these things, and we got to take baby steps, especially if we're just getting started. Don't start a 60-minute-a-day meditation practice out of the gate. With anything, if you're gonna, you don't start with a marathon, right? You start with,
baby steps.
Run around the block first.
Exactly.
And so, taking these small incremental steps is better. And you know what? Like, celebrate that. If you meditate for 8 breaths and you were conscious for all 8 of those breaths, like, awesome.
Yeah.
That is something to be celebrated.
And I think you'll feel it as well. I mean, it's like, that's a present enough in itself. Presence. Yep. But it's like, that's a gift enough to be present. It's like, it's the most beautiful thing that you could have in a day.
Definitely important to be proud of the work that you're putting into yourself, because you're all you have, honestly. Like, you. She's so emotional all the time.
Yeah, if I start bawling, sorry guys.
But yeah, it's so important to really, really dive into yourself and really try to figure out who you are without any, like other distractions, because who you are is beautiful, honestly. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's so true. Well, thank you so much, Nate, and we've had such a blast here. We're so grateful for you, and I hope you guys have really, really taken in some of this. The path to wellness is the beautiful thing, and it's always good to start off with those little baby steps that Nate talked about. So
thank you, Nate.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
See you soon. Wonderful, wonderful.